All right, Tanya Summary Shiur. It is week 37, and we're finishing off chapter 4 of Igeras HaKodesh, and we're doing chapter 5 of Igeras HaKodesh. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. In chapter 4, the Alter was discussing a few verses relating to tzedakah, and in the conclusion he explains the meaning of the pasuk that says Tzedek lefanav yahalech v'yasam b'derech pa'amav, which typically translates to righteousness goes before him, and he places his feet towards the path, or something to that effect. Now, in rabbinic literature, we say that tzedek l'fanav yahalech refers to giving tzedakah before davening, that you give tzedakah goes before you, and that's how you start off davening. And it's halacha b'Aron Shulchan Aruch that it's an important thing to give tzedakah before davening. So Alter Rebbe explains the pasuk a little bit in this light. So he says tzedek l'fanav yahalech. He also changes the translation of l'fanav, literally means that it goes before him. But the Alter Rebbe translates it as lefanav, to his face, which is to say to his inner aspects. The same way that you have a person, that they're a big generality, but then the face represents what the person is. You're able to read their expression, you're able to see their mood on their face. So panav refers to a person's inner self. So tzedakah, is able to bring out the inner aspect of a person in serving Hashem. That is to say, it's able to be mahalech, it's able to bring the panav. So just to kind of recap and read it all as one, tzedakah, lefanav, yahalech, is able to bring a person's panim, is able to bring a person's inner self to proper service of Hashem. Not just in an external way, but to bring the whole person. That is to say, based on what was explained earlier in chapter 4, that when we do tzedakah, it causes that ultimately, when Mashiach comes, we're going to be able to be fully elevated and fully refined in our divine service. And so tzedakah brings that out. We're able to do the mitzvah of tzedakah and golos, and it facilitates our entire elevation. So tzedakah ultimately brings our entire self, including our inner aspect, to Hashem. And there's a few more psukim, Pod v'shalim nafshi, that we're able to redeem our souls with shalim, and the Alter Rebbe says tzedakah is called shalim. It says in the pasuk, that the action of tzedakah is shalim, a literal pasuk. And the Alter Rebbe says the reason why tzedakah is called shalim is because ultimately it causes peace between us and our Father in heaven. Not just peace, but it causes a complete unity, the kind of peace that you get when the two sides realize that there's actually no difference and that they're able to just exist as one. That's the kind of shalim that tzedakah brings between us and Hashem. So that concludes chapter 4. Chapter 5 is a little bit of a long chapter, but that's why it's the rest of the week. And it talks about the pasuk that says Vayas David Shem, and particularly in light of what it says in the Zohar. Shem means a name. In the context of the pasuk, it means a reputation in the literal meaning. But the Zohar explains it as meaning that David made the name of Hashem, as it were, and this is what we're going to be discussing in Tanya. He made the name of Hashem through the mitzvah of tzedakah. So this is what the Alter Rebbe sets out to explain in this chapter. So to preface, the Alter Rebbe mentions the Maimar Chazal and discusses the Maimar Chazal that our sages say that Hashem created this world with the letter Hey of His name, and the world to come, Olam Haba, He created with the letter Yud of His name. So Alter Rebbe sets out to discuss a little bit about what it means to say a letter. So he brings out a very interesting point, which is that when we talk, we know what letters we want to say. Kind of. But when we say a word, we're not thinking, oh, well, I'm going to move my mouth in this very precise motion. I'm going to push out this amount of air, and I'm going to vibrate my vocal cords in this very precise way. And thereby, I'm going to make that sound. That's not the cheshbon that we make. We know what sound we want to make, and somehow muscle memory, all of those things, goes into it that the sound comes out. The sound that we're intending to make comes out of our mouths. But it's not that we're intending to do all of the actions that come along with it. Our soul expresses itself, and just things happen that this right sound comes out. Our body knows exactly what to do to make the right sound come out. So the Alter Rebbe says that on the one hand, this shows that there's something very lofty that goes on when we say a word, when we express letters, when we express sounds, various different sounds that we could express, different vocalizations. They all are rooted in us on a level that's higher than understanding. It's a level of instinct, something that's just, it's part of us in a sense. It's not something that we need to reckon, that we're going to try to move our vocal cords in such and such a manner. It's just something that is higher than our perception. Our perception is able to bring it down, but it exists on a higher level. But at the same time, the letters themselves that we say are so completely disconnected from us that when we say a letter, it's just air being blown out. It's a vibration of sound. It's not us. It's not our essence. it's an expression of our essence. It's in a way an expression of knowledge that's so innate that we have. But at the same time, it's so lowly. That's what speaking is. Speaking is something that's detached from us, that we say something and then we move on, and there's no attachment between us and what we say. So there's a lot of Kabbalah that the Alter Rebbe starts getting into in regards to these things, and it's all good things, but this is a summary share, and the Kabbalah is really something to spend a long time on. So just to try to cut to the chase, basically, is that the aspect of lowliness, the aspect of what's the sound itself, the sound that's expressed is just a sound and it's removed from the person. That is very much expressed in the letter Hey, because the letter Hey is just the ear coming out of the lungs. It's just ha. It's a huff. So when we say the letter Hey, it's just the pure expression of a sound. Whenever you want to say any other letter, it's really a Hey, and you're modifying the Hey in some way. So this world, while it contains within itself all of the details that we said about how it comes from a place that's higher than our understanding or our conscious thought, that exists whenever we say something, that we're able to utilize our muscle memory in order to express what we want to express instantaneously. But the letter Hey represents, particularly amongst other letters, represents the idea of just the letter is removed, the letter is something which is external, it's just the sound. So this world is created in such a way that is to say with the letter Hey. Now, conversely, the letter Yud is actually the first letter, in a sense, of written letters. The reason why is because the letter Yud looks like just a point. That's what a Yud is. It's a little notch on the paper. And any other letter, you need to make at least one starting point before you start drawing it out. So the letter Hey is, you make a Yud, and then you extend it in 2 dimensions. And that's the letter Hey. But the letter Yud is just the single primordial point. So Olam Haba is created in that way from the essence of what comes before. Even above the idea of a person speaking a letter is the idea of what a letter means, what a letter represents. And the letter Yud represents the highest of what that can be, the first point, the point that can expand into any letter and then on into any word, and so on and so forth. So the letter Yud is really just the first beginning, the essence of writing, the essence of the conveyance of an idea, which could be the loftiest of ideas. So that's what the letter Yud represents, and that's what Olam Haba is made with. So the Alter Rebbe says that with 2 different kinds of Avodah, we're able to bring down 2 different kinds of worlds, or I should say, when I say bring down, I mean perfect. That through learning Torah and the like, a person is able to expand upon that letter Yud to utilize the idea of thought, the idea of inner expression, to use that to develop Olam Haba. And when we do Avodah down here in this world, an expression in the mundane, an expression in the external, when we do actions of mitzvahs, actions are things that we do and they remain external from us. If a person makes a table, the table stays there even if they walk out of the room. So when we do mitzvahs of action, particularly mitzvahs of tzedakah, that is how we're able to, in a sense, imbue godliness into this world, the world which is created with the letter Hey, which represents the idea of expression in an external way, a way that becomes completely detached. So just to kind of recap, through doing mitzvahs that are internal, like Torah, we're able to expand upon Olam Haba, which is created with the letter Yud. And the letter Yud represents the idea of internal, just beginning essence of expression without the actual expression, just what everything could be, the highest of what things could be. That's what Olam Haba is, and that's what we accomplish when we learn Torah. But through doing mitzvahs like tzedakah, we're able to expand in this world, we're able to refine this world and bring it close to godliness and imbue it with godliness, because this world was created with the letter Hey, which represents the idea of expression in a way that becomes completely removed from a person, and that's what mitzvahs like tzedakah are. They're things that we just leave in this world, and in a sense they're completely detached from us. So this is what it means when it says Vayas David Shem, that through doing mitzvahs, we're able to, and particularly through doing tzedakah, we're able to create Hashem's name. And this is why so much we emphasize the concept of Maisa and tzedakah. It says, a pasuk that we already quoted, Vaya Maisa tzedakah shalom, the action of tzedakah is peace. Why not the mitzvah of tzedakah? Because what's special about tzedakah is that it's an action. It's something that becomes taka, removed from us, in the same way that Kaviyachol, Hashem, when he creates the world, it's an expression of himself, true, and he fills and imbues the entire world. But ultimately, kaviyachol, as it were, it's like it's removed from him. So when we do an action of tzedakah, in a sense, we're always connected to the tzedakah that we do, but it's also removed from us. So through doing that, we're able to imbue godliness into this world by us acting the same way that he acted when he created this world. Taka, there's another mitzvah, there's a mitzvah of Torah. But through dafka, the maisa, through the action, that's how we're able to refine this world, and we're able to complete the name of Hashem by imbuing this world with Hashem's name, by doing actions which are similar to what Hashem does, or what Hashem does, what Hashem did, and what Hashem is always doing to create this world. So there's a lot of Kabbalah in this chapter. We kind of glossed over a lot of it, but that is, in a gist, what happens in chapter 5, and that concludes chapter 5, and in Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to go on to more chapters discussing more aspects of the Mitzvah of Tzedakah, and many more exciting things. Looking forward.